The auction house fell silent when they dragged her onto the platform. Kira Voss had been to 100 of these gray market sales across the fringe, looking for salvage parts and cheap labor contracts for his repair shop. He'd never seen a Valenthy before. Not in person. Their kind didn't end up in places like this. Their kind ruled entire star systems. But there she was, tall, impossibly so, with skin like polished obsidian and silver markings that traced her cheekbones like frozen lightning. Her wrists were bound in suppression cuffs, the kind that blocked neural implants and psionic resonance. Her eyes, twin pools of molten gold, stared at nothing. Not defeated, empty. Lot 47. The auctioneer announced his voice board. Valenthy female. No documentation. No lineage verification. Soul as is. Opening bid. 10 credits. A murmur rippled through the crowd. 10 credits for Athy was an insult, so profound it circled back to being a joke. Kira watched as a Dramax slaver raised his appendage. The type who ran the underground fighting pits on Nexus 9. 10 credits 12. Kira said he didn't know why he said it. The word just came out, pushed by something in his chest that he thought died with his daughter 3 years ago on a colony ship that never reached its destination. The Drox turned, all 6 eyes narrowing. Human. You don't want this one. 12 credits. Kira repeated. The auctioneer waited. The Drumax made a sound like grinding metal, disgust probably, and lowered his appendage. No one else bid. Why would they? A Vandai without documentation was worthless. Worse than worthless. She was a political liability. A mystery that could bring Imperial investigators down on anyone stupid enough to own her. Sold to the human. 12 credits. Kira walked to the platform, transferred the credits, nearly all he had left after last month's docking fees, and received a simple biometric chip that registered temporary ownership. The guard shoved her forward. She stumbled, caught herself with a grace that seemed bone deep, and looked at him for the first time. Why? Her voice was like wind through crystal caves, beautiful and cold. Kira removed the suppression cuffs. His hands were steady even though his heart wasn't, because nobody should be sold for 10 credits, he said. I bought her freedom for 12 credits. That's 3 more than you're worth to them. But we both know that's a lie. She stared at him. Something flickered in those golden eyes. Confusion maybe. Or the first crack in whatever wall she'd built to survive this. You are either very foolish, she said, or very dangerous. Mostly just broke, Kira admitted. Come on, I've got a ship. It's not much, but it's got a working heater, and nobody's going to put cuffs on you there. She didn't move. You expect nothing in return? I expect you to tell me your name eventually when you're ready. He turned and walked toward the exit, not looking back. After a long moment, he heard her footsteps following. The ship was called the Yergotii, named after his daughter. It was a heap of welded-together salvage that somehow still flew, held together by Kira's stubbornness and about 40 kilometers of replacement wire. He'd been living in it for 2 years, running repair jobs across the fringe, staying one step ahead of debt collectors and memories. She stood in the cargo bay, taking in the cluttered mess of spare parts and half-finished projects, and said nothing. Crew quarters are through there. Kira pointed. It's just a cot and a privacy screen, but it's yours. Galleys to the left, showers to the right. Water recycler's been acting up. So keep it short. You give me a room, she said slowly. On your ship. Where you sleep. I sleep in the cockpit most nights anyway. You are not afraid I will kill you. Kira considered this. Are you going to? I have not decided. Fair enough. He moved to the galley, started pulling out ration packs. When you decide, let me know. I'd like to finish dinner first. She watched him prepare 2 meals, protein paste and rehydrated vegetables. Nothing special, and set one on the small table bolted to the floor. Sit, he said. Eat, Willie. You look like you haven't had a real meal in weeks. Valenthy, do not require. Everyone requires food. Sit. She sat. They ate in silence. Kira didn't push. He'd learned in the years since Margot died that some silences needed to exist, that sometimes people or beings that looked like people needed space more than they needed words. When she finished, she set down the utensils with precise, deliberate movements. Veal, she said. Kira looked up. My name is Valeth. Kira Vost. He extended his hand, an old human custom. She stared at it for a long moment, then reached out and touched her fingertips to his palm. Her skin was cool, smooth as glass. "You are strange, Kireos," she said. "So I've been told." 3 days into their journey to nowhere in particular, Vale finally spoke more than single sentences. Kira was elbow deep in the water recycler when she appeared in the engineering bay, silent as a ghost. He'd gotten used to that, the way she moved without sound, the way she watched him like she was trying to solve an equation that didn't quite add up. "You were a soldier," she said. It wasn't a question. Kira kept working on the recycler. Colonial Defense Force 12 years got out after he stopped tightened a coupling that didn't need tightening. After your daughter. His hand stilled. "You went through my personal files. Your ship speaks her name when it powers on the photograph in the cockpit. The way you look at the stars like you're searching for something you know you will never find." Vale moved closer, her bare feet silent on the metal grating. "I did not need files." Kira pulled his hands out of the recycler, wiped them on his pants. "She was 6. Colony transport got hit by raiders. I wasn't there. Couldn't save her. And so you save others instead." "I fix things," he said. "That's all. You fix broken things." Vale's voice had shifted, lost some of its cold edge. "Broken ships, broken systems, broken women sold at auction. You're not broken. You do not know what I am." Kira finally looked at her. Really looked. In the harsh light of the engineering bay, he could see what he'd missed before. The silver markings on her skin weren't decorative. They were scars, dozens of them, tracing patterns that spoke of deliberate, systematic cruelty. "Those marks," he said quietly. "They did that to you. My own people." She turned slightly, showing him the pattern that ran down her neck. "I was High Princess of the Valanthe Ascendancy, third in line to the Eternal Throne. Then my father died. My brother took power, and I became inconvenient. They tortured their own princess. They tried to break me, to make me renounce my bloodline, accept dishonor, become nothing." Her golden eyes met his. "I refused. For 4 years I refused. So they sold me to the slavers, with no documentation. A princess made into garbage." Kira felt something twist in his chest. Not pity. She wouldn't want that. Something else. Recognition. Maybe the understanding of what it meant to lose everything, and still keep standing. "Your brother sounds like he needs a visit from Colonial Defense. My brother commands a fleet of 3,000 warships. So that's a no." Then for the first time, Vale's lips curved. Not quite a smile, but close. "You just about attacking an empire. I just about a lot of things. Keeps me from thinking too hard about the rest." She was quiet for a moment. "Then why do you truly help me, Kira Voss? You must want something." "I want the water recycler to work." He turned back to the machinery. "And I want to not eat dinner alone every night. That's about as complicated as my wants get these days." "You are lying." "Maybe, but it's a comfortable lie." He glanced back at her. "You want to help? Hand me that hydrospan inner, the one with the blue grip." She stared at him. Then slowly she reached for the tool and placed it in his hand. Their fingers brushed, and she didn't pull away immediately. "You treat me as an equal," she said. "As if I am not Valanthe. As if I am not royalty. You're not royalty right now. Right now you're crew." He went back to work. Crew helps with repairs. Crew eats together. Crew doesn't have to explain themselves unless they want to. And what does crew do when they cannot sleep? The question came out softer than anything she'd said before. When the memories come, Kira paused. Crew sits in the cockpit and looks at the stars. Sometimes crew talks about nothing. Sometimes crew just sits. That sounds acceptable. Tonight, then after dinner, I'll show you the view from the observation deck. It's the one thing on this ship that actually works right. She nodded once, that almost smile, still ghosting her features, and left as silently as she'd come. That night, they sat together in the darkness of the observation deck, watching distant suns burn against the void. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Some understanding had passed between them. Two broken people floating through space, beginning to believe that broken didn't mean finished. Vale's hand rested on the console between them. At some point, without thinking, Kira's hand moved to rest beside it. Their fingers didn't touch, but they were close enough to feel each other's warmth. It was enough. For now, it was enough. The attack came 3 weeks later on a routine supply run to Helen Station. Kira had just finished negotiating for fuel cells, overpriced. But the Ye Margoa was running on fumes when his comm crackled with veilless voice. Kira. Ships incoming. 3 vessels configuration. His blood went cold. Get to the cockpit. Prep for emergency burn. He ran. By the time he reached the Karodii Vale had the engines warming through the viewport. He could see them. 3 sleek cruisers, their hulls marked with the golden spiral of the Valanthia ascendancy. They found me. Vale's voice was calm, but her hands trembled on the controls. My brother sent hunters. Can we outrun them? No. Valanthi ships are faster, more maneuverable. They will catch us within the hour. Kira dropped into the pilot's seat, pulling up tactical displays. She was right. The math was brutal. Simple. 3 military vessels against 1 salvage ship held together by hope and wire. Then we don't run. He started plotting a course. The KTH Nebula is 2 jumps from here. Heavy radiation, sensor interference. If we can reach it, they will follow. But they'll have to follow blind. And I know that Nebula spent 6 months hiding in it after Margot. He stopped, refocused. I know it. They don't. Vale studied his face. You would risk your life for me. Your crew. He engaged the jump drive. Crew doesn't leave crew behind. The first jump was rough. The second was worse. By the time they hit the nebula's edge, the Jumurati was screaming warnings from half its systems, and the Valanthi ships were close enough to fire ranging shots. Kira dove into the nebula's swirling chaos, navigating by memory and instinct through corridors of ionized gas and radiation flares. The Arrow groaned and shuddered, but she held. She always held. They're still following, Vale reported. 2 ships. The 3rd is hanging back. They're hurting us, trying to push us toward the core, where the radiation's strongest. Kira's hands flew over the controls. We need to lose them in the drift. The drift asteroid field runs through the nebula's heart. I used to mine their back, when I had a different ship and a different life. There's a cave system in one of the larger rocks, big enough to hide the Dimargo, shielded enough to mask our signature. The asteroids materialize from the radiation fog, like ancient stone sentinels. Kira weaved between them closer and closer to the massive iron core rock. He remembered, praying the entrance was still there, still passable. It was. He killed the engines, let momentum carry them into the darkness, and held his breath. Minutes passed. The Valanthi ship swept by, their sensors blind in the interference. Once, twice, a 3rd time. Then they were gone, pulling back toward the nebula's edge to wait. Kira exhaled. His hands were shaking. We're trapped, Vale said quietly. They will wait. They are patient hunters. Then we wait too. He unstrapped from the seat, moved to the emergency supplies locker. Air recycler can give us 3 weeks. Food's tight, but we can stretch it. 3 weeks. She rose, followed him. And then we figure something out. We always do. Kira. Her hand caught his arm. Her grip was stronger than he'd expected. Her skin warm now, where it had been cool before. Why are you doing this? Truly, you could surrender me. They would let you go. You could live. No, you do not even hesitate, because there's nothing to hesitate about. He turned to face her. 3 years ago, I lost everything that mattered. I've spent every day since then just existing, moving from place to place, fixing things, never stopping long enough to think. And then I found you on that platform, and something woke up. Something that still knows how to care. I am not your daughter. No, you're not. And I'm not trying to replace her. He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His fingers brushed the silver scars on her cheek. You're Violet. You're a crew and you matter. Not because of what you were or what you could be. Just because you're you. Her golden eyes glistened. I do not know how to be this. What you offer. My people do not form bonds this way. We calculate advantage, assess power, forge alliances through ritual and contract. Then don't be your people. Just be you. Just be here. What if I do not know who that is anymore? Then we figure out together. She kissed him. It wasn't passionate. Not yet. It was something more fragile. A question asked with lips instead of words. Kira answered as gently as he could, his hands cradling her face, feeling the tears that slipped down her cheeks. When they broke apart, she pressed her forehead to his. I am afraid, she whispered. For the first time in years, I have something to lose. Me too. He pulled her closer. But that's what makes it matter. They stood there in the darkness of the asteroid cave, two people who had lost everything, holding onto each other like the universe might try to tear them apart. It probably would, but not tonight. On the 17th day, Vale made her decision. Kira woke to find her standing at the communications array, her fingers hovering over the controls. She wore one of his shirts, too big for her slender frame, and her silver-scarred skin seemed to glow in the dim light. What are you doing? What I should have done years ago. She turned to face him. I am going to challenge my brother. Vale, hear me? She crossed to him, took his hands in hers. In Valenty law, a member of the royal bloodline cannot be stripped of status without formal denunciation before the High Council. My brother imprisoned me, tortured me, sold me, but he never completed the ritual. He was afraid of what I might say, afraid of the truth. What truth? That he killed our father? That he seized power through murder and deceit? I have no proof. It died with the witnesses he silenced. But I have my voice and I have my blood. She squeezed his hands. The hunters out there, they are waiting for my brother's command. But if I broadcast a formal challenge, invoke the ancient right of Koth, they cannot touch me. They would be bound by law to escort me to the home world for trial. A trial where your brother controls everything. Yes, but not everything. She smiled. A real smile. The first he'd ever seen from her. He does not control the people. The common Valenty, the lower houses, they loved our father. They remember what the ascendancy was before my brother's cruelty twisted it. If I can reach them, speak to them, you could start a revolution or die trying. Yes. Kira was quiet for a long moment. What happens to us? You would not be harmed. I would ensure it. You would be free to go. That's not what I meant. She touched his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. I know. Then don't go. We can find another way. Leave Wolf space. Find some colony on the edge of nowhere and spend our lives hiding, running. She shook her head. That is not who I am. That is not who you helped me remember I could be. You taught me that broken does not mean finished, that there is strength in gentleness and choosing kindness when cruelty is easier. I want to bring that to my people, even if it kills you, especially then. She kissed him softly. Some things are worth more than survival. You taught me that, too. Kira pulled her close, held her tight, and made a decision of his own. Then I'm coming with you. Kira, your crew. Crew doesn't leave crew behind. He pulled back, met her eyes. Besides, someone has to keep your ship running. The Valenty probably don't know the first thing about proper maintenance. You would enter the heart of an empire that despises your species. You would stand before a tyrant who commands armies. For me, I bought your freedom for 12 credits. I'm not letting that investment go to waste. She laughed. Actually laughed. A sound like bells and starlight. You are impossible. So I've been told. The broadcast went out an hour later. Vale's voice, strong and clear, speaking ancient words that hadn't been uttered in 3 centuries. The hunter ships responded immediately, not with weapons, but with a formal acknowledgement. The right had been invoked. They were bound. The journey to the Valenty home world took 6 days. 6 days in which Kira learned everything Vale could teach him about her people, their customs, their weaknesses. 6 days in which they planned and strategized, and occasionally just held each other in the darkness of the cockpit. The home world was beautiful and terrible, a planet of crystal spires and silver seas, ruled by a man who had killed his own father for power. Kira stood beside Valeth as she descended from the Anargo, his hand in hers, facing a crowd of thousands. The trial lasted 3 days. Valeth spoke of truth. Her brother spoke of tradition. The High Council deliberated, weighed, judged. In the end, it was not the council that decided. It was the people, the common Valenty who filled the streets, who chanted Vale's name, who remembered what their empire had been and could be again. When her brother tried to have her silenced, they rose up. When he called for guards, the guards refused. By the 3rd dawn, it was over. The tyrant was in chains and Vale stood before the eternal throne. She could have taken it. The crown was hers by right and revolution. Instead, she turned to the council and spoke. I do not want a throne. I want your promise. Reform this empire. End the practice of selling our own people like cargo. Open dialogue with the humans and the other species we have dismissed as lesser. Build something worthy of our ancestors. And if we refuse, the eldest counselor asked, then I will return with my human, and we will be considerably less patient. The council agreed. Whether from wisdom or fear, Kira never knew. Later, in the gardens of the palace that had once been her prison, Vale found him watching the twin suns set over the crystal spires. You could have ruled, he said. I could have, but that was never what I wanted. She slipped her hand into his. I wanted to matter, to make something better, to find someone who saw me as more than my blood or my crown. She looked at him. I found that in a cargo bay on a salvage ship from a man who paid 12 credits for a princess. 12 credits was all I had. It was everything. She turned to face him fully. Stay with me, Kira Voss. Not as a consort, not as a political asset, as my partner, as my equal, as the man who fixed something in me that I thought was irreparably broken. I'm a human. Your people will talk. Let them talk. Let the whole galaxy talk. She smiled, and it was like watching a sun rise. I was worth a planet. You were worth more. Kira kissed her there in the garden under alien suns, surrounded by the whispers of a revolution they had sparked together. The Margoti stayed in orbit around the Valenthy home world for years afterward, a strange little salvage ship among the crystal battlecruisers. Kira never stopped fixing things. There was always something that needed repair, something broken that could be made whole. But the most important thing he ever fixed wasn't a ship or a system. It was a princess who had forgotten she was worth more than 12 credits, and she in turn had fixed him right back. The end.